Welcome, fellow Lions fans. Welcome, Terion Arnold. Welcome, Andis Rraw. And welcome to the rest of the Lions draft class for 2024. Also, welcome Brad Holmes, who must have been very good this year, as Santa delivered his Christmas present early in the form of 2 cornerbacks. I'm Dr. Jimmy Liao, University of Michigan Medical School grad, board certified in family medicine, here with the Detroit Lions Podcast Medical Edition. Today I'll be recapping all the players we got on their draft with a special focus on their medical histories and how it may impact their careers as they enter the NFL. Also, special attention to Andis Rraw and his core muscle injury. Let's start things off with Terion Arnold, 21-year-old cornerback out of Alabama, drafted with the number 24 pick of the first round. On today's reports, I'm going to report the age of each of these players because it's a key component of any medical report. As a doctor, a patient's age is quite literally the first thing you say as you give a report to another medical professional. For example, Dan Campbell is a 46-year-old male with a history of caffeine dependency who presents with unusually large testicles. Brad Holmes is a 44-year-old male who presents with possible delusions of grandeur after nailing his first 3 drafts. So Terion Arnold just turned 21 years old with a birthday in March, so he'll play this entire season at the age of 21. There are a lot of older players in this draft due to COVID as well as NIL, so it's nice to see us getting a young player relatively. For comparison, Quinyon Mitchell, taken 2 picks before Terion by the Eagles, is already 22 years old with a birthday in July. Thus, he'll play this season at age 23, 2 years older than Terion. Why is age so important? As we know, father time is undefeated. Natural aging, wear and tear of the body is inevitable, even with no history of injuries. To quote Thanos in Avengers, I am inevitable. Muscles, tendons can age, but the main issue with aging is cartilage. Our human bodies are designed remarkably well, but cartilage is one area that really could have used a firmware update. Cartilage does not heal well, if at all, due to its poor blood supply, and medical science has no good replacement for injured cartilage at this time. Even without any acute injury, cartilage will still degrade and get damaged over time. If you do MRIs of older people with no knee pain, you'll often find cartilage damage. In the medical world, when you see abnormalities on imaging that have nothing to do with what you're looking for, we call them incidental lomas. So when cartilage is unhealthy, you get arthritic type pains, which can dramatically affect athletic ability. Cartilage is likely the primary reason why football players and all athletes around the age of 30, maybe even a year or 2 earlier, start to decline. And with many of them, it's not a gradual decline, but they can fall off a cliff. A recent example we've seen in our own secondary is Glover Quinn. Fantastic for us for many years, but in his last year with us at the age of 32, there was a noticeable and dramatic decline in his athleticism. That year was 2018. He played all 16 games that year, but he never played in the NFL again. The age at the time of draft likely doesn't impact health during the rookie contract, but it's a major issue during the second contract. This offseason, we just gave top of the market contract extensions to Panay, who was 20 years old at the draft, is currently 23, and will only be 29 when this contract ends. Andis Rraw is 21 at draft time. He's only 24 currently, and he'll also only be 29 when his contract ends. So for the Lions, from their financial planning standpoint, it was perfect planning. The risk with giving out all this guaranteed money to these guys, i.e. possible future dead cap, is much less than if the player was a couple years older at the time of the draft. So you got Terion being only 21 years old compared to Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback drafted before him, the only cornerback drafted before him, who is 2 years older. That makes it more likely that Terion will be worth giving that second contract to compared to Quinyon. Credit to Brad Holmes for generally drafting young players during his time with us. Looking at his history of first and second rounders, at draft time, Gibbs was 21 years old, Campbell 22, Branch 21, Laporta 22, Hutchinson 21, Jamo 21, Pascal 22, Panay 20. The only outlier was Levi at 23 years old, and coincidentally or not, Levi has not worked out well. Besides Terion's young age, he's also a medically clean prospect. Only injury I found was a single concussion in 2023. That's minimally concerning to me. Football players are going to get concussions playing football, and often they'll go unreported. If he has a history of multiple concussions, missing multiple weeks, then that would be much more concerning, like Javid Best had when he was in college. While Terion Arnold is a very medically clean prospect, our second-round pick is on the other side of the spectrum. That's Andis Rraw, cornerback out of Missouri, number 61 pick of the second round. He's 21 years old, will be 22 years old in June, so about a year older than Terion. He had an ACL in 2021. If this is just an ACL, no problem. But often the injury that caused the ACL also causes cartilage damage, which is a long-term issue and can lead to early arthritic pain. A study found that 54% of ACL tears had a meniscus tear. The other surgery he had was a core muscle surgery. It's somewhat unclear when he had this surgery, but likely December 2023 or January 2024. It's also uncertain if he had bilateral or unilateral surgery. He missed the Senior Bowl due to it. So what's a core muscle injury? It's previously called a sports hernia, but it's not actually a hernia, so we don't call it that anymore. A hernia is an opening of tissue that allows other tissues to pass through. It was thought to be a hernia due to the location of pain, which is at the inguinal canal groin area, which is a common location of hernias. For those of you who had a physical where you turn your head and cough while the doctor sticks a finger up your junk, it's the inguinal hernia that they're checking for. The actual core muscle injury is a catch-all term that doesn't actually specify the injury. It can be multiple different things. Muscle tendon tear or bulging of the fascia are common causes. There are up to 27 muscles that enter the area, so there are many possibilities here. So how common is a core muscle injury? A study in 2017 of over 1,300 NFL Combine participants found that 4% of them had core muscle surgery. That's 1 in 25, so pretty common. The most common position affected was DB. That's what we see with Andis Rraw. There's a greater than 95% return rate to sports after surgery, so pretty good. You don't need to repair the core muscle urgently. Andis sounds like he had growing issues early in last season. He tried to play through it before ending up getting surgery after the season. So you can play with it through a season. Our nemesis, the 49ers, have had a couple players who played through it just this past year who got surgery this offseason. That's George Kittle and Charvarius Ward. Other notable players who have had this surgery are Nick Bosa in 2018 and J.J. Watt in the past. So what are the concerns with Andis going forward? The concerns are you do the surgery and things don't get fully better. With Rraw, we have no tape on him after surgery, so there's a chance he's just not the same player as we saw on tape. Now, why might it not get better? Orthopedic surgeons, they're fantastic, but they're not God. They can't magically fix everything back to pre-injury. With core muscle, there's also some guesswork as to what's causing the pain because of so many muscles, fascia, tendons, ligaments going on in that area. So it's not as straightforward as an ACL. Also, surgery itself can cause trauma and some scarring. The other risk is that it's not actually a core muscle issue, not actually a growing issue. It's actually an intra-articular or hip joint issue. That's a complicating factor that could necessitate a separate surgery. Hip joint pain causes growing pain. So it can be confusing as to what's actually the underlying cause of that growing discomfort in a patient. Another problem with the core muscle issue is tearing one side makes it more likely you'll tear the other side. Overall, though, if it's just a purely core muscle issue, it's not a major long-term concern. Players generally do pretty well after surgery as long as it's an isolated core muscle issue. So with Andis, the glass half full outlook is that the ACL is isolated with no cartilage tear, and the core muscle is a unilateral, straightforward injury, not related to a hip problem, not related to any unfixable issue. If that's the case, he'll be close to 100%, and he should be fine for us. The glass half empty outlook is that the knee has cartilage damage, which is a long-term concern, and the core muscle is not fully back to normal. He's not quite as athletic as he used to be. There's residual discomfort, and even more concerning is there's an underlying hip joint problem, which could affect him the rest of his career. Moving on to the 4th round, we have Giovanni Manu, picked with the number 126 pick. He's 23 years old with a birthday in January. He's an offensive tackle or offensive guard out of the University of British Columbia. That's a beautiful area there right outside of Vancouver, BC. I played in the Ultimate World Club Championships there about 25 years ago, so I remember that area well. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous there. Giovanni Manu does not appear to have any medical concerning history that I could find, so he's a pretty clean prospect. Also in the 4th round, we got Sione Vaki, running back out of Utah, currently 22 years old, turns 23 in July, so he'll be 23 during the season. Did not find any medical history with him, so he appears to be medically clean. In the 6th round, we got Makai Wingo, defensive tackle out of LSU, 21 years old with a birthday in April. He'll be 21 during this entire season with us, so pretty young guy. In 2023, he had groin surgery, missed the last 5 games of the regular season, but importantly, he returned for 1 bowl game after the surgery. Core muscle surgery, just like Andis Rraw, is a good possibility here. Again, like with Andis, hopefully it's not a hip issue or any other more concerning issue. In the 6th round, we also got Christian Mahogany, offensive guard out of Boston College. 23 years old with a birthday in October, so he'll be 24 during this season. He had a right ACL in 2022. He's played since the injury, so we have some tape on him, which is good. As with any ACL, it's the cartilage that's the long-term concern. So that's it for our draft picks for this year. Good luck to all of them going forward. Coming up soon on the NFL calendar is the release of the NFL schedule, so enjoy that. That should be out in the next couple weeks. For many people, it's not a big deal, but for fans like me who plan to travel to games, it's a huge deal. I already have a couple games targeted for this year. I'm on the West Coast, so I like it when the Lions come out here. The Lions are playing at the 49ers and at the Cardinals, so I'm keeping an eye on those 2 games. If the dates work out, as soon as that schedule is released, I'm booking hotels and keeping my eye on the ticket resale market, as tickets are available immediately after schedule release. On a future podcast, I'll discuss off-season news on current players, including guys who have had surgery since the season ended, such as Kirby Joseph and his hip, Taylor Decker with his toe and ankle, and Brian Branch with a possible left foot or ankle. As always, feel free to leave comments on the YouTube video or hit me up on Twitter at Jimmy Liao MD. Last name is Liao. Some of you guys send me breaking Lions injury news on Twitter, and I appreciate all that. Thanks for watching and listening. Talk to you next time.